Hello, we're back. In episode 44, I said we'd be talking about the Invader port to the Atari 8-bit computers. That includes the Atari 400 and 800 and the Atari 600XL and 800XL computers. There are a few more in the Atari 8-bit family, but these are the machines I'm most familiar with. I'll be programming it using C with the cc65 6502 C compiler, like I did with the Commodore 64 C version. Let's take a look at Invader in C with Notepad++. Here's my code. My global variables and my sprites, or player missile graphics as they're known to the Atari 8-bit line of computers. The Atari 8-bit computers, including the beloved Atari VCS game machine, also known as the Atari 2600, have their own version of sprites known as player missile graphics, named for the fact that each player comes with its own 2-bit wide missile in the same color as its associated player that it's paired with. The players, or sprites, can be 8 bits or pixels wide, but they can be as tall as the screen height, usually 128 or 256 pixels. Unlike, say, the Commodore 64 sprites that can be up to 24 pixels wide and 21 pixels tall. As previously mentioned, I showed cc65 back in episode 40, where I created a Commodore 64 version with it. This compiler can be used to create binaries for a number of systems that use the 6502 CPU, such as the VIC-20 and the Commodore 64, and of course the Atari 8-bit line like I'm showing in this video, but also the TurboGrafx 16, the Nintendo NES, and the Lynx. These are some of the systems that I may try to develop for in the future using cc65, so keep an eye on the channel for those. So let's run it in the Altirra emulator now and see how it looks. The first thing you'll notice is that the sprites are a little squashed. The Atari has a single and double scanline modes. So I use the single mode, which sort of squashes the sprites. So with the turret, I'm using the turret player's missile. That's why it's the same color as the turret, as they have to share the same color. But with the Invader, I decided to use a separate player instead of the Invader player's missile, so it could be a little wider and a different color as the Invader. Because I was programming for the Atari 8-bit line of computers, I wanted to make sure to use the players and missiles, but I was having trouble with the missiles. If you watch closely, when they pass another player or missile, one of them disappears. To keep this from happening, you have to employ some bit masking techniques that I was having trouble understanding. I may come back to this later and try to fix it. Now let's take a look at it on the real hardware. Okay, so here's my Atari 600XL with its RAM expander. Look at the size of that thing. And here is my digital drive in place of a floppy drive. So what we need to do here is select our file and then just basically turn the machine off and back on again. And now it'll go ahead and load that up and run. Here's my fantastic sounds. And we'll let him hit us a couple times. There's one. And that should be game over. The start key will restart it. So I have a couple of updates. Back in episode 29, I showed a version of Invader created for the Intellivision in IntiBasic, but I didn't have an Intellivision to show it running on at the time. Well, since then, I picked one up and a flash cart, so we'll take a look at that now. I got a really good deal on this. I paid $75 and it's in perfect shape, and it came in its original box. The other update is connected with the BrainPad Pulse. Back in episode 31, I showed a version of Invader running on this device. These were created in MakeCode Arcade, MicroPython, and C#. Well, they've dropped support for MicroPython in favor of the full implementation of Python. So I created another version that uses the full version of Python. The only drawback of this is that you can no longer have a copy of your program in Python that runs standalone on the device, as you could with the MicroPython version. It only runs tethered to your computer now. So now they're using do-link in order to get it from Thonny onto the device. We'll go ahead and run that now. And we got left and right, and now I'm using the touch on here in order to fire. And it's working, as you can see. So it's using a capacitive touch on the pad 0. Oh, there's game over. And both buttons to restart. So there it is, but you can see though, when we disconnect it and plug it back in, our program is gone. Oh, one other note is that I use the LED here on the screen when you get hit. So this video is a bit of a milestone for me and my project. It's video number 45 in the series, and I've been at this for a little over 3 years now. With the Atari 8-bit version of Invader, I realized that I have now created this for each of the first 5 computers I owned. The Timex Sinclair 1000, the Commodore VIC-20, the Atari 600XL, the Commodore 64, and the Commodore Amiga 500. So, next episode I will be showing a port of Invader to the PC in 3D using Godot 4.0, as I want to learn the new 4.0 version of Godot, and thought I'd do it in 3D just for fun. That about wraps up episode 45 of my journey in game programming. Please like and subscribe and leave any comments or suggestions you may have that can make these a better experience. Until then, bye. I'll talk to you next time.